Let me first give all praise and all honor to the God of my ancestors, the God of Africa, the Almighty Amen Ra. This is your brother Radio 1 coming back at you again with another video of truth and historical reality. Now the name of this video is Any Race Can Be an Israelite According to the Hebrew Israelites' False Teachings. Yes, that's what we're going to be talking about today. But let me first say that we have you fake Hebrew niggas under siege. Yes, we have you surrounded. One side you're being attacked by Sarnetta. The other side you're being attacked by Garfield and the Dagger Squad. And on the other side you're being attacked by Rock Nation. And on the other side you're being attacked by myself. Okay, we have you under siege. And we are coming at you with the truth and the facts and the historical reality. But the question I have is, when are you Negroes going to come out and surrender and admit that you're wrong and admit that you're not a Hebrew Israelite and come back home to Africa and come back home to Egypt and start claiming Egypt and embracing Egypt as your ancestors as you did with this Hebrew Israelite lie? Yes, when are you going to do that, huh? When are you going to give up this fake Hebrew identity and come back home to Africa and start embracing Africa, Egypt, and Cush as your true ancestors, just as you did when you was a fake Hebrew Israelite? Yes. When are you going to come out and do that? That's the question I have. Okay? So, now we're going to touch on a subject. Anyone can be a Hebrew Israelite. But let me also give a shout out to my brother Chris Harris, or aka Anthony Harris, okay, who was also in this Hebrew Israelite movement, and he followed the teachings of the Hebrew Israelites. But when he realized that it was all a lie, he was being lied to, he had enough courage to get out of it and go against the lies that was taught to him. See, that's the problem. See, a lot of you Hebrew Israelite Negroes out there who are just now getting into this, or who've been in it for a while, you know that you are being lied to, but you don't have enough courage to get out of it and go against those lies, because you fear these elders. Yes, these elders, these elder Hebrews walking around with their loud voices, okay, screaming, okay. You fear these Negroes. You look up to them. But you know you're being lied to, but you're too afraid to stand up to them and get out of this lie. That's the problem, okay? And let me also say that anyone with common sense, okay, you don't even have to have an education in history. You don't have to be educated in history. But anyone with some smarts and some common sense and some intelligence can debunk the lies of these Hebrew Israelites. Okay, you can just say when they tell you this BS, all you have to say is that BS don't make any sense. What you're saying don't make any sense. And all you got to do is have sense to say that. You don't even have to be educated in history. So anyone with some common sense can debunk the lies and foolery and coonery of these Hebrew Israelites. Yes. So, and I also want to say, when the Hebrew Israelites say that the Jews were the Negroes, okay? Yes. They say that the Jews and the Negroes were the same, which is a lie. And let me explain to you quickly the difference between a Jew and a Negro, okay? The difference between a Jew and a Negro is the same as the difference between an Egyptian and an Israelite. We know in ancient times, or in the Bible, they were known as Israelites and Egyptians. And later on, the Israelites, in later history, in medieval history, the people who descended from Israelites became known as Jews. Okay? And the Egyptians were the people native to the Nile River. They were the Africans who were native indigenous to the Nile River, who has been living on the Nile River for thousands of years. Those were your Egyptians. The Israelites, or your Jews, were the foreigners who came into Egypt. Okay? So saying that the Negro and Jews were the same is like saying that the Jews and Egyptians were the same, but they were not. That's like saying the Jews were Egyptians. No, the Jews were foreigners who came into Egypt, okay, during the 1300s BCE and later on during the Babylonian captivity. They were foreigners who came into Egypt. They were not Egyptians. They were not the indigenous people of Egypt. The same with the Negroes in West Africa. Okay, the Negroes were the people who were native and indigenous, or should I say, the Negroes were the Africans who were native and indigenous to the Niger River, who lived along the Niger River for thousands of years, long before these people called Hebrews or Jews came into contact with them. Now, the Hebrews or Jews came to the Niger River at a very late date. Yes, very late date. Sometime in after 1000 AD, somewhere around there. It was very late when they came to the Niger River. And they came amongst the Negroes, okay? And the black Americans, or the descendants of slaves in America, are descendants of the Negroes, the people who were native to the Niger River, or the Negro River. Those were the ancestors of black Americans, not these Jews who came from a foreign place. That's what you have to understand. Okay? Just like Jews, they say Jews settled in the land of Cush. That does not mean that the Jews were Cushites. The Cushites were the people who were settled along the Nile River for thousands of years. The Jews were the people who came later. That's what you have to understand. Now, with that said, let's get off into this subject. So, and we're going to be quick. Okay, I won't be long, but I will be strong. Now, the name of the video is Any Race Can Be an Israelite According to the False Teachings of the Israelites. Now, what do I mean by that? According to the Hebrew Israelites, if you follow the curses of Deuteronomy 28, that makes you an Israelite. Yes, that is their claim. Okay, forget about geography, forget about history and the people, the native people who were in West Africa, forget about all that. Okay, you just got to go by these curses. If you fit these curses, that's who you are. Now, if you got some sense, do you see how silly that sounds? Going by some curses and some prophecies determines who you are and who your ancestors are. That is the weakest, most pathetic thing I ever heard. And only a fool will fall for that. Yes. And that's who follow the Hebrew Israelites. Only the fools follow them. Only the dumb follow them. Because you got to be dumb and you got to be a fool to believe this nonsense. But let's get off into it. Okay? So, according to them, you have to fit the curses and the prophecies of Deuteronomy 28 in order to be an Israelite. Well, if you have to fit the curses, well, that also means you have to fit the blessings too. You have to include the blessings as well, because the blessings are also mentioned. You can't separate the curses from the blessings. But let's get off into it. Okay? Deuteronomy 28. Okay? But let us start with the curses. Let us start with the curses. And I'm going to give my honest opinion on it. Okay? So it says, okay, cursed shall thou be in thy basket and thy store, okay? Meaning, okay, if your store get burned down and someone take your goods, okay, that means you can be an Israelite. Yes. Okay? Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body in the body, in the fruit of thy land, and increase thy kind in the flocks of thy sheep. Cursed shall thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shall thou be when thou goest out. Okay? Curse the Lord shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, rebuke, and all that settest thy hand unto until thou be destroyed, until you perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. So that means for the wickedness of your doings. Okay? If you're doing wicked things, that means you can be an Israelite. And we know how many people in the world, everybody in the world are doing wicked things. Okay, so that makes you an Israelite. Okay, and it says, the Lord shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee, until he hath consumed thee from off the land, whether thou goest to possess it. Okay, the pestilence. Pestilence means plague or a disease. So if you have a serious disease, or you suffer from a pestilence or a plague, that means you can be an Israelite. Okay, so that means you Negroes standing on the corner shouting. Okay, how in the hell are you able to stand on the corner and shout and preach the lies and the nonsense that you do if you have a pestilence, if you have a disease or a plague? Okay, because you say you fit the curses, right? Fitting the curses make you an Israelite. So that means the Hebrew Israelites, if they fit the curses and it makes them an Israelite, that means that they will be standing on the corner itching and scratching and doing all types of things and coughing and doing all the things that a sick person do. So if you are so sick and you are so plagued, then what the hell are you doing on the corner preaching and preaching the lies and the nonsense that you do? Okay? Why are you so fat and healthy? Why are you able to wear your fake Halloween costume if you're going through all this? Now, do you get where I'm coming from? People who have some sense. Do you get where I'm coming from? Okay? See, because a lot of you look at me and say, what the hell is he talking about? He's not making any sense. I'm not getting it. Well, the reason why you don't get me is because you don't want to let go of this lie. You don't want to let go of this fascination that you have with being a Hebrew Israelite. Once you're able to let that go, and once you're able to have some courage to know that you're being lied to, then you will understand where I'm coming from. Then you will get me. Okay? But until then, okay, this is not for you. Come back when you find your brain. Okay? Now, let's move on. Now, it says, I can go on, and I'm not going to be all day with it. I'm not going to be all day with it. And it says, one of the curses, thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Okay? So that means if you have a wife and she cheated on you with another man, you can be an Israelite. Yes. So only an Israelite, according to these fools, only an Israelite can have a wife and be cheated on. I had to take a pause there. You see how foolish that sound? Man, but let's move on. Okay? Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Okay? So if you build a house and you don't live in it, okay, which what realtors do, okay, realtors or the construction company who build a house for other people to live in. So if you build a house and you don't live in it, that makes you an Israelite. If you are a construction worker or a realtor who makes a living building houses for other people to live in, that makes you an Israelite. That's what it means. You shall build a house and you shall not live in it. Let's be realistic here. I'm talking reality. See, because the Hebrew Israelites are so delusional that they can't handle reality. And if you have some common sense, this stuff sounds so foolish. It makes no sense. Well, let's move on. Okay? It says, thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people. Okay? So, if you have sons and daughters, okay, and you end up losing your sons and daughters and they go to a foster home, you can be an Israelite. That makes you an Israelite because that's what the curses say. So only an Israelite can have their children taken away from them, according to the Hebrew Israelites. But we know how many people of other races and other have their children taken away from them. Okay, you don't have to be an Israelite to have your children taken away from you. Okay? Okay, so it says, the Lord shall smite thee in the knees and in the legs, and with a sore box that cannot be healed from the sole of thy foot until the top of thy head. So if you have bad knees, okay, if you have bad knees and bad legs, and you have a couple sores, you can be an Israelite. Okay, it doesn't matter who your true ancestors are. Doesn't matter who your indigenous ancestors are. If these things happen to you, you are an Israelite. You see how ridiculous that sounds? Do you see how ridiculous that sounds? Okay, because we know when black people got out of slavery, our ancestors, their minds were so destroyed that they fell for anything. Our people are falling for anything. Anything, any nonsense sounds good to them. Yes. So, and the solution to that is wake the hell up and know that it's nonsense and know that you're being lied to. And have some courage to go against it. Yes. Well, let's move on. And the stranger that is within thee shall get above thee very high, and thou shalt come very low. Okay, so if you become poor, and the other man become rich, become very high, and you become very low, that makes you an Israelite. Okay, so that means the homeless white person, the homeless people of other races on the street can be Israelites because they are very low and they are very poor. You see how foolish that sounds. But let's deal with one of the blessings, and we're going to end this video. Okay? So let's deal with one of the blessings. And it says, and the Lord shall establish thee an holy people himself. And we're not going to deal with that. And all the people of the earth shall see thee, in the name of the Lord, they shall be afraid of thee. Okay? Yes, and we're going to deal with this one. And the Lord shall make thee plenteous in goods, in the fruit of thy body, and in the fruit of thy cattle, and in the fruit of thy ground, in the land which the Lord sware unto thy fathers to give thee. Okay, so if you have plenty of goods, okay, and you're rich, you have goods, plenty of goods, okay, and you have a farm that grows a lot of fruit and vegetables, that makes you an Israelite. You are a blessed Israelite. Okay? So how many black people in America, places like Atlanta, Georgia, black people who have nice houses, okay, nice gardens, and they growing and have farms and growing fruits. Okay? And also the white people who have all that. Does that make them an Israelite as well? So pretty much, I'm not even going to continue because this argument is ridiculous. These Hebrew Israelites are delusional. They are deceiving you. Black people and the ones who haven't woken up yet, you're still walking around like a dumb little child going for anything you believe. Grow up and wake up and know that you're being lied to. But, so, then yeah, you can read it for yourself. Read the curses and see how anybody can fit those curses. These things happen to people every day. The curses in Deuteronomy 28 happens to any race of people every day. But according to the Hebrew Israelites, if you go through this, you're an Israelite. People, it's time to wake up. And that's all I have to say. I'm going to end it there. I'm not going to waste any more of your time. I just wanted to wake you up to this reality and show you how foolish and how ridiculous this claim is. Show you how foolish and how ridiculous the Hebrew Israelites are. All you have to do is grow up and wake up and have some courage to know that this is nonsense. That this is a lie and it makes no sense. Okay? So that's it. Okay? Embrace your true ancestors. Know your true ancestors. Do historical research. Don't have any faith in a silly fake dream. And don't have faith in a fake 12-tribe chart. Okay? But do your own historical research. Matter of fact, don't even go by what your mama tell you or what your grandma tell you, because they can be delusional too. Okay? This is deeper than them. You had people and historians and ancestors who lived before them. And you better believe if you could meet them, the ancestors that are deceased, that lived before your grandmother, if you can meet them, you better believe that they will say something different than what your grandmother is saying. Because your grandmother is no different from the Hebrew Israelites if she's saying this nonsense. She is delusional too. So the best thing to do is do your own research. Historical research. If you want to know who your ancestors are, find out who the ancient people of West Africa are. Okay, who were known as the Negroes or Sudanese, Ethiopians, Egyptians. Okay, those are your true ancestors. Find out about those people. Stop listening to these liars and false teachers and pseudo-historians that are living in the modern day world today. Look to history. Okay? Do it the hard way. Stop looking for answers the easy way. Do some research. Just like if you want to get muscles. Okay, you can't just take steroids and take all type of nonsense to get muscles. What you got to do? You got to work out. You got to pump iron to get those muscles. It's the same with history. If you want to know who your ancestors are and know who you are, you got to read and study real history. Read and study real historical, valid sources. And stop believing the made-up, fairy tale, delusional nonsense that's being told by these modern-day fake scholars and these modern-day Hebrew Israelites. And with that said, this is your brother Radio 1, signing out. Until next time, Egypt stays in Africa. Peace and Amun Ra.